Put that last tape upload a little on the long side. So, continuing, it is the great beast. We cannot look upon the beast. It is forbidden. I remember then that the great sin of the Muslim religion is to look upon the beast of Satan. Still, I realized it was a holodyne. I encouraged them, consoled them, and gently began to explore with them this beast. This is like religion. All religion says, don't talk to Satan. It's like the worst friggin' thing. But Satan is the problem. Satan is the negative energy. You know, any challenge that you deal from, it is the negativity that we tend to ignore. And Wayne Dyer is one fine example that if you ignore it, you know, challenges, Satan, evil, negative energy, and just focus on everything that's positive, you'll never ever transform the holodynes that create hell in your life. So it's like you do have to sort of face the bear, or the beast in this case. They described this beast as being black and brown. It is a great hairy creature that represented the evil in the world. We talked for a long time behind the counter, sitting on the floor. They were so worried about having the beast around that it was difficult to carry on a conversation. I reasoned with them that all their resistance to the beast and the resistance of their people had not changed in thousands of years. It is still around. They doubted anything could change the beast, but I insisted the beast wanted to change. Perhaps it is the very reason I am here, I suggested. Perhaps we can transform the beast. And this is like these elites and, you know, everybody that's doing all these really, really, really evil things, they really want change just as much as we do. But it's somebody in this paradigm has to want that change, and it's the ones that have the strongest ability to, you know, go through this process. If you don't go through this process, there's no hope in hell. I suggested they created a field of love around it, but they could not and would not even consider such a thing. Finally, I asked, what would Allah do with the beast? Well, Allah would love the beast, of course, said the older brother. We discussed why Allah would love the beast. What can Allah see that makes it possible to love the beast, I asked. We were able to discuss it for a while, and finally they agreed to create a field in which they were wrapped in the love of Allah, and looking through the eyes of Allah, they were able to peer over the top of the counter and look upon the beast. Like little children, these two grown men, ferocious terrorists or freedom fighters for so many years, now faced their greatest fear. Ask it what it wants, I suggested. The older brother asked, what do you want? Again they shrunk back and ducked down behind the counter, shaking with fear and holding on to each other. What? I asked. I was another half an hour before they could tell me. It wants to consume us, they cried. I explained it was an ancient being seeking a solution to its own problems. I persuaded that everything I could think of, and finally got them to wrap themselves once again in the love of Allah, and look through the eyes of Allah, continued to explore what it wanted. Eventually they worked up the courage and peered once again over the counter. What else do you want? The older brother said with a quivering voice. There was a moment of waiting. It wants to consume Palestine, said the older brother. What else? I asked. It wants to consume Israel, exclaimed the older brother. Israel? Why would it want to consume Israel? Asked the younger brother. I don't know, said the other. They began to argue with each other. Us, I can see. It would want to consume us. Palestine, I can see. But Israel, it can't want to consume Israel. They both looked at me. What else does it want? I asked in response to their questioning look. They looked back at the beast. They were more confident now and were beginning to really explore this beast. What else do you want? Asked the older brother. It says it wants to consume everything, all life, he replied. Why? I asked. Then a strange thing happened. The faces of both men changed. They softened. So it can have peace, the younger brother said. It says life causes too many conflicts, problems, and wars. The only way it can have peace is to destroy all life. So it wants peace, I summarized. Yes, it wants to get rid of all the conflicts. We discussed this for a while. Finally I asked, can you imagine what that peace would look like? They both closed their eyes, and then after a moment the older brother said, "Ah, oh, it is beautiful, it is so pure." Then suddenly they both jumped to their feet and hugged each other and began to dance around the floor. "It is of Allah, it is witness of the love of God, it is the great river of life flowing through all people in all life," the older brother sang. The younger brother joined in. They were dancing around the shop in total ecstasy. I had never seen anything so joyous. "Every foot which stepped upon this holy land is brought by God to be here," one shouted. The other began to prophesy. "Every deed is a witness of the love of God. Palestine is but a transitory state, a witness to all nations of the oneness of life and the wonders of God," explained one, and the other continued, "It is a great river of life flowing from Allah into the world." I lost track of time. They continued in this state for quite a long time, although it did not seem like it to us. Finally, I suggested we continue with the process. They immediately stopped and gave me their full attention. "Introduce the beast to the river of life," I suggested. After a moment, the conversation began again. "The beast is tired," said the older brother. "He very much wants to go into the river and have this peace. He says it will change his life forever." "Then let it be done," I suggested. "It is a miracle." They threw their hands up and began to dance again. They danced over and hugged and kissed me. They lifted me into the dance and shared together their ecstasy. After I didn't know how long, perhaps half an hour, they stopped and looked at me. "Who are you?" the older brother asked. "My name is Vernon." "Vernon, Vernon. It is not a good Arab name. Come with us," we mentioned with his head to his brother. With a twinkle in his eyes, they guided me back into the depths of the shop to an elegant tiled well. It was ancient, a sacred place. "This well has been in our family for over 6,000 years, he said. "It is called the Wall of Forge, which means in Arabic, water where none should be. There should be no water on this place, but there is water here, and even in ancient times. No one knew why," he explained. "The name Faraj has come to mean solutions to problems where none should be, or an opening or doorway where none is evident," he explained. "Here," he said, "take this rope and put it on. Now this headdress." They helped me wrap myself up properly and looked very much like an Arab. They stood me beside the wall and raised an ancient cane that had been packed up from part of this display. "We name you Faraj. From now on, whenever you go among the Arabs, you will be known by this name. You are now family, and you may come and go among us, part of our family." I was deeply touched by the passion, openness, and total environment of these two men. I asked them to step to the well, dressing them in similar costumes to one they had placed on me. I took the staff and raised it over their heads. I said, "We will be the Faraj brothers. I hereby name you both my Faraj brothers." It was 11:30 at night. I was past curfew. It was completely dark outside. The ominous blanket of the Israeli warning began to cloud my consciousness. "I really should get back to my hotel," I suggested. "Oh," the older brother said, "where is your hotel?" Another problem raised itself to my consciousness. I did not know the location or even the name of the hotel. I had been with the group and it had not registered to ask. "I don't know. I only just got here last night and we went out first thing this morning on the bus. I had been separated from my group. I was getting a little nervous." "Can you describe the hotel to us?" asked the younger brother. "Well, it is English, named after some saint, I think, and it looks like a castle," I explained. "Oh, we know the hotel. We will take you there," the older brother grinned. I was relieved to find they knew the hotel, but was concerned for them. "But it is after curfew, and you could get shot." They both laughed. "Don't worry, Faraj. We know how the system works. Come with us." Silently, they slid out a side door into the shadows of the night. We walked tentatively through the city, keeping out of light. Hesitating in darkened doorways, we waited while one of the brothers or the other shouted ahead. As we approached the last gate, an Israeli patrol passed about 20 feet away from us, and we just watched them go by. Then, in the open light of the main street, we crossed to the hotel, and they walked me to my room. to make sure I made it without any trouble. We hope you can see you again soon, the younger one said as we said our goodbyes. For sure, I said. We are brothers. I fell asleep almost before I could get into my bed. Early the next morning I woke to breakfast call, took a cold shower and quick breakfast, and we were off on the little blue bus again. The day was serious. We found ourselves visiting the sites where Arab villages once stood. The bus driver, an Arab, explained over 120 villages have been completely destroyed. As we went from one location to another, he would say, "See, no sign left." We would give the name of the village, talk about some of its former inhabitants, and then summarize, "Only fields of stones." We visited a couple of churches and Holocaust museums. I found the Holocaust Museum very depressing. Black and white pictures of such inhumane treatment, horrendous events captured on film of Nazi soldiers, Jewish victims, the suffering, and all the museum, literally the muse of images of the past, which you can see now, kept alive forever. Then, as if by design, we visited the concentration camps in Jerusalem, entered communities surrounded by 20-foot fences, and then built by Israelis for the Palestine victims. The similarities were undeniable. The Israelis dressed like their Nazi counterparts, building their turrets high above the concentration camps and shouting sometimes randomly down upon their prisoners. "There is no law for Palestinians," said the Arab guide. "There is no protection against wanton abuse. Men, women, children can be killed, abused, or driven out of their homes without reprisal or protection." A long discussion ensued. The Israelis have their own final solution for Palestinians and another guide. "They are determined to get rid of us," said the driver. "Half the population has fled," he continued. "Over 2.5 million Palestinians drive from their homes. The other half is subject to horrors at least as bad as the Nazis, or worse," said another. I did not believe any of it. I thought I was just in the presence of some Arab dissidents who were trying to get sympathy for their cause. I cooled off towards them and began to distance. My religious background from Judaism, Christian, still the concentration camps were there, right in front of me. Our little blue bus could not enter the concentration camps from the front because the only gate is a single person entry through the iron revolving gate. Guarded supervised each entry and exit. "Prisoners are allowed to exit in order to provide slave labor for the Jews," said the guide. "They work for almost no pay, and their families are confined inside the camp to ensure the return of the working parents. We slipped in through the back road, which is open to service vehicles. We walked the streets. Children came out and began to follow us. They seemed curious as to who these strangers were in their prison. "Who are you?" one young man asked me. "What are you doing here?" asked another. We began to talk with them about but were encouraged to keep moving to avoid the Israeli military patrols. These children have been born and raised within the confines of these concentration camps. No education is afforded or allowed, so the teaching must be done undercover, illegally, so to speak. They know so few outsiders, the guide explained. We made our way to the small cluster of small cement condos and were invited into the home of the family. It consisted of a mother and her 7 children. The mother was graceful and a little shy. She was obviously intelligent and determined to do the best for her family. The house was small, about 800 square feet that I could see. The walls were cement, covering by different kinds of wallpaper. She must have rummaged from the wallpaper from somewhere because each wall had its own design in sections. It looked fairly good in spite of its makeshift origins. There was one small living room with a relatively large window looking out upon the concentration camps. In the middle of the window was a 2-inch roll hole. On the wall opposite the window was a picture about 1 foot square of an Arab man with a beard. The guide explained it was her husband and invited her to tell her story. I'll continue on another tape, but I wanted to leave off that my smoking addiction, actually, when I was communicating with what it wanted, it was saying a lot of the same things that this beast was saying. So I think that's what the negative energy is on our planet. It wants change more than we think it does. But, not as bad as you think it is. Peace out.